My dad called it a family obligation. I called it the day I finally stopped begging for love that was never mine. He threatened to cancel my tuition if I didn't attend my golden sister's wedding, the daughter who could do no wrong, the one who got praise for breathing while I was invisible even when I achieved everything. But what he didn't know was that I'd already graduated valedictorian in secret. I had a career, a six-figure income, and something far more powerful, freedom. So, when he ordered me to smile for family pictures that day, I smiled all right, just before I handed him an envelope that shattered the image of his perfect daughter forever. And when he opened it, his face drained of color. That's when I knew. Revenge didn't have to be loud, it just had to be smart. Growing up in my family felt like standing in the shadow of a spotlight that was never meant for me. My sister, the golden child, didn't earn her glow. She inherited it. From the moment she was born, my parents looked at her like she was the universe's apology for every disappointment life had given them. And I was the afterthought. The quiet one. The one they forgot to call for dinner sometimes. She wasn't cruel, not in the obvious way. Her cruelty was softer, hidden beneath perfect smiles and accidental comments. Maybe you're just not a people person, she'd say when I sat alone at family gatherings. Or, you're too intense, that's why Dad gets frustrated. Every word was a needle, tiny, invisible, but cumulative. Dad adored her. He'd laugh at her mistakes and call them cute. When I made mistakes, he called them failures. Mom? She just followed his lead. That was the rhythm of our house. Her laughter, bright, confident. Mine, quiet, cautious. By the time I hit high school, I'd stopped trying to compete. Competing meant being reminded I'd already lost. When college came, I thought it was my escape. I got into a great school, full scholarship for the first year, but tuition after that was a constant battle. My dad made sure of it. He loved dangling money like a leash. You should be grateful, he'd say. If I didn't help you, where would you be? Every time he paid a bill, it felt like he was buying a piece of my self-worth. So, I made a decision, quietly, dangerously. I would earn my independence. I worked nights tutoring students, coding freelance projects, anything that would put distance between me and their control. But I didn't tell them. I wanted to see how far I could go before they noticed I didn't need them. By senior year, I was living a double life. To them, I was still the struggling daughter, the one they could pity, lecture, and guilt into. Obedience. In reality, I had already graduated a semester early, valedictorian. My name was on the dean's list, on academic papers, even on a scholarship wall plaque. But they didn't attend graduation. They didn't even know it happened. That day, while my classmates threw caps into the air, I was alone, smiling, crying, and free. My sister, meanwhile, was getting engaged. Of course, the engagement party was family only. Of course, I was expected to come. Of course, I didn't go. I told them I had exams. Dad called me ungrateful. Mom sighed. My sister posted pictures, her glowing face beside her fiancé's, captioned, when you know, red heart. And I knew something else, I would never fit into their definition of family. Months passed. I moved to a new city, started my first job in tech. The company paid well, better than I'd ever imagined. I bought my own apartment. Paid off student loans they claimed they helped with. Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed. Dad, you're attending your sister's wedding. Non-negotiable. I stared at the message. Then another came through. Dad, if you refuse, I'll cancel your tuition payments. Tuition payments. The ones that didn't even exist anymore. I almost laughed. Instead, I typed back. Okay. He had no idea that my bank account balance could pay for my next degree, my rent, and then some. He still thought I was under his thumb, that his money controlled me. That's when the idea began to take shape. Not a loud revenge, but a quiet, elegant one. One that would leave him speechless. The weeks before the wedding, I played the obedient daughter role perfectly. Yes, Dad. Sure, I'll be there. I'll wear whatever Mom picks. Every call ended with his condescending approval, good girl. Don't embarrass us this time. He said it like I ever had. When the wedding day finally arrived, the world felt staged, like a movie where I didn't belong in the frame. The venue was extravagant, draped in gold and flowers. My sister shone like she'd stepped out of a magazine. People whispered her name like it was divine. And me? I was the ghost again, present, but unseen. She greeted me with a perfect smile. I'm so glad you came. I was worried you'd find some excuse not to. The tone was sweet, but her eyes said, you didn't want to come, did you? I smiled back. I wouldn't miss it. My voice was steady, too steady. During dinner, I sat at the far end of the table while Dad gave a speech about how proud he was of his two daughters, one who's always been his shining star, and the other who's finding her way. Laughter. Applause. Even my sister giggled. I took a sip of water and smiled. He thought this was his moment, the day he'd parade his golden family before the world. He didn't know that the real show was about to start. In my purse was an envelope. White, unassuming, sealed. Inside it, documents, photos, and a letter I'd written over months. When the ceremony ended and guests started to dance, I approached him quietly. He was laughing with relatives, basking in attention. "Dad," I said softly. "Can I talk to you for a second?" He turned, annoyed. "Can it wait? We're celebrating. It's important." I held out the envelope. He frowned. "What's this?" "Just something I wanted you to see." He shrugged and took it, barely looking at me before slipping his finger under the seal. I watched as he unfolded the papers. First page, a photocopy of my degree. Then, my employment contract. Next, the first pay slip, 6 figures. And finally, the letter. His smile faltered. He read the words silently, his eyes narrowing. Then he looked up at me, confusion, then anger, then something I'd never seen before. Fear. The letter began. "Dad. You always told me I'd be nothing without you. That your money was my only lifeline. I wanted you to see what I became when I stopped needing it. I graduated valedictorian last year, quietly, without your help. I have a career, a home, and peace. I'm not angry anymore. I just wanted you to know that your control ended the day I stopped asking for love you'd never give." He folded the paper slowly, his hand trembling. "What is this supposed to mean?" he muttered. I smiled, genuinely this time. "It means I came to say goodbye, not congratulations." And then I walked away, leaving him standing under the glittering lights, clutching the envelope that held the truth, and the end of his power. I didn't look back when I walked away. I wanted to, a part of me wanted to see his reaction, the disbelief, the anger, but the stronger part of me, the one that had waited years for this moment, knew that if I turned around, I'd weaken. And I couldn't afford to be weak, not tonight. The band was playing something slow, romantic. My sister and her new husband danced in the center of the floor, surrounded by glowing smiles and camera flashes. To everyone else, it was a perfect night. To me, it was a funeral, not of a person, but of the version of myself that spent a lifetime begging to be seen. The daughter who waited for approval. The student who worked for praise that never came. The girl who believed love had to be earned through pain. She died the moment I handed him that envelope. I walked out to the garden terrace, where the music was faint and the air was cold. My hands were trembling, not from fear, but from release. It was strange, how revenge didn't feel like rage. It felt like peace. I leaned on the railing, staring at the city lights below. My phone buzzed, a call from my mom. I hesitated, then answered. Her voice was shaky. "What did you do?" For a second, I said nothing. Then, I told the truth. "He's furious," she whispered. "You embarrassed him in front of everyone." I almost laughed. "Did I?" I didn't say a word. "He showed your letter to your sister," she continued, her voice rising. "She's crying. Everyone's asking questions. You couldn't just let her have this day?" The words hit like a slap, let her have this day. Every day of my life had been her day. Her trophies, her birthdays, her milestones. I exhaled slowly. Maybe it's time someone had mine. There was silence on the line, then a quiet, angry exhale before she hung up. When I turned around, I saw her, my sister, standing by the doorway, still in her gown. Her makeup was perfect except for the smudge under her left eye where mascara had bled. She looked fragile. But even then, she carried that same air of moral superiority, as if pain couldn't touch her without her permission. "I can't believe you did this," she said softly. "Did what?" I replied. "You made him look like a fool." I tilted my head. "He did that himself." She folded her arms, trembling. "You always think you're the victim. You could have just talked to him. Instead, you had to turn it into some dramatic reveal." I met her gaze, steady, unblinking. "You mean the same way he made my failures his family speeches? The same way he turned my struggles into warnings for your perfection?" Her lips parted, but she didn't speak. "You had his love handed to you," I said quietly. "I had to earn mine, and I never could. But the funny thing is, I still turned out fine. Better than fine. I just wanted him to know that." She stared at me, searching for something, remorse, maybe. Then she whispered, "You could have kept it to yourself." I nodded. I did. For years. And I walked past her, leaving her in silence. When I got home that night, I expected guilt to hit me. I waited for regret, shame, second thoughts, but none came. Instead, I felt lighter. For the first time, I didn't check my phone to see if he texted. I didn't care if he did. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat by the window, replaying his face in my mind. Not with satisfaction, but with finality. That was the moment I realized something vital. Revenge wasn't about making someone hurt. It was about reclaiming the parts of you they broke. And that night, I reclaimed everything. Days passed. Then, one morning, a knock came at my door. When I opened it, Mom stood there. No makeup. No mask. Just exhaustion. She didn't ask to come in. She just stepped inside quietly, looking around my apartment like she was trying to understand who I'd become. "You're really doing well," she said finally. "I am. I didn't know you were working. Or that you graduated." "I know." She sat down, folding her hands. "He's not taking it well. He feels humiliated." I shrugged. "That's not my fault." She sighed, shaking her head. "You think this was about control? Maybe it was. But it was also about fear. You were the strong one, and that scared him. He didn't know how to handle it." That surprised me, not because it excused anything, but because it was the first time she'd admitted he was wrong. "Fear doesn't justify cruelty," I said quietly. "No," she admitted. "It doesn't." We sat in silence for a while. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a small velvet box. "He wanted me to give you this." Inside was a necklace, simple, gold, with a small locket. I opened it. Inside, a tiny picture of me, as a child, smiling beside him. "He kept that?" I asked softly. "He did," she said. "Even when he was angry. He just never knew how to show it." For the first time in years, I felt my throat tighten. The anger, the pride, the pain, it all tangled into something confusing and human. "I don't forgive him," I whispered. "I'm not asking you to," she said. "I just thought you should know that he saw you tonight, maybe for the first time." She stood up, placed a hand on my shoulder, and left. That night, I couldn't sleep. I held the necklace in my palm, tracing the edges of the locket. Did he really keep it all these years? Or was it another manipulation, one final act to make me doubt my own victory? Either way, I decided something, revenge didn't have to end in hatred. It could end in understanding, even if forgiveness never came. So, I wrote one final letter. "Dad. I didn't do it to hurt you. I did it because I needed you to see me, really see me, without the lens of disappointment. You don't have to be proud of me. You don't even have to love me. But you should know, I'm happy. And maybe, someday, you'll understand that I didn't need your money or approval to be successful, I just needed to stop chasing what was never mine." I sealed it and sent it without expecting a reply. Weeks later, I got one. Not from him, but from my sister. "He's been quieter lately," she wrote. "I think you broke something in him, but maybe that's what it took for him to finally reflect. I'm still angry at you, but part of me envies you. You got free. I don't think I ever will." I read it twice. Then I smiled sadly. Freedom always comes with a cost, but staying caged costs far more. A few months passed before I saw him again. It was at Mom's birthday dinner, small, private, awkward. He looked older. Softer somehow. When our eyes met, I didn't feel hate anymore. Just peace. He didn't apologize, and I didn't expect him to. But when he raised his glass and said, to both my daughters, "I didn't always show it, but I'm proud of you," I knew it wasn't just words. Maybe it was late. Maybe it was flawed. But it was real. After dinner, he came up to me quietly. "That letter you sent," he said. "I've read it more times than I can count." I didn't know what to say. He continued, "You were right. I was afraid, not of losing control, but of being irrelevant. You were already everything I couldn't be. I didn't know how to love that." There was a long silence. Then, softly, I said, "I didn't need perfect, Dad. I just needed something." He nodded. "I know. And I'm sorry." Those two words, "I'm sorry," didn't erase the years. But they loosened something tight in my chest. Sometimes, redemption isn't about rewriting the past. It's about acknowledging it, and moving forward anyway. A year later, I got married. Small ceremony. No golden decorations, no speeches about perfection. Just honesty, laughter, and people who saw me for who I really was. My father came, quietly, humbly, and when he hugged me, it wasn't out of obligation. It was genuine. He whispered, "You grew beyond me." And for the first time, I replied, "You helped me, even when you didn't mean to." Because the truth was, his neglect had forged my resilience. His favoritism had built my independence. His absence had taught me how to stand alone. He tried to cage me, but in doing so, he forced me to find my wings. That night, as I stood with my husband under the soft glow of candles, I thought about that envelope, the one that started it all. It wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror. And sometimes, showing someone their reflection is the greatest revenge of all. Because it makes them see what they tried so hard to ignore, not your pain, but your power. Years later, I visited my parents' home. The house felt smaller somehow, quieter. On the mantel was a framed photo, my college graduation picture. The one they never attended. Dad had written on the frame, "My daughter, she made it on her own." I smiled. Not because I needed his pride anymore, but because I finally believed something I'd never dared to before. I was never the forgotten one. I was just the one who learned how to shine without permission.